So to company news, and Jervois Mining jumping after it said it would aim to restart production at its Brazilian refinery next year. But with COVID cases still a rampant problem, does this provide risk for this venture? Bryce Crocker joins us now from Jervois Mining live via Skype. Sorry, Bryce, we were just reading about Brazil being an epicenter of the pandemic. Does that give you a background risk in terms of these operations?
I mean, clearly Brazil's in a very difficult space, quite a different situation than we have here in Australia with regard to the pandemic. But in terms of the preparations for the restart, we are able to safely undertake the work with the relevant precautions in terms of PPE and procedures. And obviously the restart is scheduled we'll be finishing the bankable feasibility study for the initial restart in July or August this year, and moving forwards after that. Industrial sites within Brazil, they've continued to operate. So although the pandemic is obviously difficult in the country, as it pertains, similar to Australia, the mining industry has been considered a critical industry. It's continued to operate, and we'll proceed to restart the facility in a safe and appropriate manner, despite the pandemic in Brazil.
So have you got all partners in the venture on board, given obviously the logistical difficulties that you're dealing with at the moment?
I mean, I was in Brazil recently, so given the work that we're doing with the Australian government, I am able to travel, with the US government, I am able to travel outside the country. So I spent 3 months in the United States, moving ahead with our plans to advance and construct what will be the only cobalt mine in the country, in Idaho, and then spent 3 months also in Sao Paulo with regard to setting up the team, establishing a good balance, I think, of a team we're purchasing a facility from a company called Votoran Tim, which is a private group, one of the largest private companies in Brazil, very well regarded, very reputable. They operated the site successfully for over 30 years. Recently placed it on care and maintenance due to a mine that they operate that closed, that provided feed. And our background is we're a group of executives largely from Glencore, from the trading background, and so we're procuring materials now to restart the facility and bring it back into operation. It is the only nickel cobalt refinery in Latin America, and there is no refinery also in the United States. So we'll be bringing the cobalt down from the United States to refine in Brazil and then bring back to the United States, which is important for both countries.
So if this project was mothballed, is it just a matter of flicking a few switches? Because it sounds like the infrastructure's all there ready to go.
It is. I mean, mothballed, I think, that's the wrong phrasing. This is placed on care and maintenance. The care and maintenance was a very robust and solid care and maintenance process. Before COVID, our broader technical team, we spent a month in Sao Paulo reviewing the site. We've got a local engineering firm, Promon Engenharia, who are undertaking an audit of the restart now. So they're going through and undertaking electrical tests, structural tests, mechanical testing, turning on all the pumps. But it's been well maintained. And so we're going through an Ausenco, obviously, leading engineering firm. Their specialty is nickel cobalt refineries, amongst other flow sheets. And so I'm quite excited with the combination with Ausenco, with Promon on the ground, that we can restart the facility successfully. And as I said, it's very much a Brazilian management team. So I think that's very important in terms of our ability to execute.
And Bryce, how are you seeing cobalt prices at the moment? I gather they have surged over the past month or so. Is that based on some deficits you're seeing there, particularly as far as demand in the EV sector is concerned?
I mean, cobalt's quite exciting. So we typically don't talk around the market to an enormous extent. We tend to focus on our business, but cobalt's moving in terms of prices, and it's moving for a reason. And this isn't a false start. 2017, prices did move in anticipation of the electrification transformation to come. This time it's real, and why it's real is it's being driven by physical demand. EVs probably had their strongest fourth quarter of all time in both China and in Europe, and the supply chain just wasn't prepared for it. Obviously lithium, but also cobalt. So with the quite profound effects of COVID across 2020, no one was really expecting EVs to rebound in Q4 as strongly as they have. And what you've seen, I think, in quite an unexpected way is at the start of COVID, there was an expectation that climate change and transformation, a lot of these climate issues would kind of take a back seat. that's not the case. Across the globe, you've seen very strong moves, both within the new Biden administration, Europe, and also China, towards pushing towards the electrification. That's really having a profound effect on the supply chain, which just can't keep up. China's stockpiling physical cobalt, and so you're seeing an escalation in cobalt prices for both the raw materials that come largely from the DRC, and also the material in China's under its physical markets are tight. So for us, it's very positive coming into startup business, both in the United States and Brazil, and having a tailwind given the macro backdrop.
Well, staying on that theme, Bryce, your construction services partner, Ausenco, has actually got a proven ESG performance for Brazilian standards. Is that now the new normal when operating mines?
And I think the world's changed very significantly even in the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, 10 years, I've been trading commodity products for a long time, and ESG was a box that got ticked. That box is no longer just a box, it's substantial. It's that you really do the ESG pressures are significant. So in our operation in Idaho, we're drawing power from 100% hydro. In Brazil, again, it's 100% hydro. So the grid in Idaho is about 70% hydro. We're 100% in Brazil. But the incremental units or electrons in Idaho do come from hydro exclusively. And these sort of pressures and the importance of creating a supply chain which consumers have confidence from an ESG perspective, it's very important. And I guess the overlay in relation to cobalt is that 3/4 of the supply comes from the DRC. The DRC is highly problematic for a number of reasons, and has been for a long time in terms of security of supply, but increasingly the ESG pressures are very significant as well. And that's what we're really looking to create at Jervois. I mean, we're creating a very Western-focused supply chain that's independent of the influence of China, which has dominated the DRC supply chain to the detriment of Western industry. And we're looking to work with governments across the board, Australia, the United States, and fortunately now also to Brazil, to present a commercial solution to the industry in these respective countries so that they can move forwards with the electrification of their vehicle fleets with the confidence that raw materials are going to be available.
Bryce, great that you can join us for that update. Thanks very much for talking to us from Jervois Mining.
No problems, Andrew and Annette. Appreciate the time. Thanks.